will be ordering fancy metal nameplates for you all. So we'll definitely email you and make sure we get your name spelled correctly. If you have a preferred name, you want your name on your plate. If you want to add a nickname or a middle name, it's pretty much up to you all. And then if you all would like to have your pronouns on your plate, we can do that in this year as well. So we'll probably order those next week. But definitely we'll email you all to your personal emails just to confirm that we have the correct spelling before we order that. And then I'll talk a little bit more about the other items in your folder, but if you're all ready, if you could just take out your social cheat sheet really quick. And you all will be formally sworn into office as you know.
Hi all, thanks Jessica. I'm really excited to be here. We have a great working relationship with y'all every year. I'm so thankful for the class council and thankful for Claire who helped us get started and increase the accessibility of trade board. I'm just really thankful for y'all and congrats on your new position. That's really exciting. I won't be here next year, but whoever our new chief justice is, will have a great time working with you. So if everyone has their oath ready, I'm going to do it in parts and you'll just repeat after me. Wait, you're doing it. Yeah, I was like, that's right. Yeah. And I would definitely stand up. Stand up. Just a little bit more. Yeah, let's make it easy. Raise your right hand, please. All right. I state your name. Do hereby solemnly swear that I will.
Do hereby solemnly swear that I will,
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
Support the Constitution and the bylaws of the Undergraduate Students Association of UCLA.
support the Constitution and the bylaws of the Undergraduate Students Association of UCLA,
And that I will.
and that I will,
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
Promote. Maintain. And extend the worth.
and extend the worth, value,
And the name of the University of California.
and the name of the University of California.
Where did the signs go? They need, one of them needs to be, oh, it's hung up? Yeah. Good, good, good. Thank you.
If I lost a meal lottery, do I need to tell someone that I lost it?
Well, I mean, that doesn't stop.
I'll be nice to you all regardless.
We'll see you.
Yes, everybody ready? Okay, let's do this. I call this meeting to order at 9:57 p.m. So let's begin. There are no minutes to approve this week. So let's go on to the approval of the agenda and the signing of the attendance sheet. So I hope the attendance sheet will be passed around. Please sign in with your signature and we'll sign out when we leave too. So are there any amendments to the agenda this week? So that works just by basically saying if you want to strike your officer report or strike anything else that you view that doesn't need to be on here, or if you need to add a discussion item or any sort of item. Anybody? Everyone in dining want to keep their officer reports. That's kind of going to look probably more like what you want to do this year, your goals, and talking about that. Is that cool with everybody? Okay, so let's move on to public comment then. I'm also actually deciding this year, or this not this year, today.
Before you move on, you want a motion?
Oh, approve. You're right. I'm still learning about that. Okay, we actually need a motion to approve the agenda, a second, and then a vote. So, thank you. Awesome. I'm gonna do it differently this year as what it was in previous years. So just do all in favor, all against. Just please raise your hand, and we'll just do a count that way. So, all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda, please raise your hand. 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Oh, sorry, 10. Okay, by motion of 10 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the agenda is approved. Awesome. Now we're going to move into public comment. So there's going to be 3 different public comment sections. It's going to be 2 minutes each. It's going to be no audio, no video, audio, no video, and then audio and video. So I'm just going to move my hand like this across the room. If anybody wants to speak, just raise your hand. I'll call on you. Please get up, introduce yourself, tell us what you want to talk about for 2 minutes. Cool? Okay. Community guidelines. Sorry. Challenge ideas, not individuals. Gender inclusive word usage. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. And each speaker, once again, will be given 2 minutes as an opportunity to speak once during public comment. Are we good? Okay. So. Audio, no video. Okay. And now, audio and video. Awesome. Okay, last call for public comment.
I'm so excited for you guys. I'm not gonna watch this entire meeting. So I do want to say I'm so happy for FTP. Let's talk. Got together the best. Jessica, you already know the best. And I'm really excited for Joanna. I know she's quiet, and we had a great time to kind of connect her and we're going to talk about that. So cheesy to watch you. I hope you guys work together. But I love you guys. Have a great ass meeting. We did.
Okay. Tonight we also don't have any special presentations or appointments or old business, so we're going to move right into officer reports. So it will go in ballot order down to president, all the way down to international student representative. So I'm going to start. Really, the way I envision this is, since some of you all might not have officer reports because we're new offices, I think just talking about your goals, your platforms, and expectations for this year is something that we can do. So I'll start. I'm Robert. I'm a 4th year, or incoming 4th year, political science major, education studies minor. Really, my goals, the first one that I really care about with engaging you all, this accessibility campaign that I want to work on. And I just want to explain the gravity of, I think, the situation that we're in the sense that, this year we've seen disproportionate disengagement from Usac and voter turnout, and otherwise in a way that hasn't been seen in a really long time. And I really sincerely hope that we as a council can come together and work to make sure that we're mutually advertising the work that all of our offices are doing and have been doing these past 100 years, but also working to advertise Usac as a whole and as an institution. So you all should hear from a team that I will have soon in my office about working for that mutual publicity, especially in regards to Usac as an institution, because I really do want one of our goals to be to engage the student body more, and moreover, hopefully that will result in higher voter turnout and engagement at all of our events together. So that's the first thing that I really hope you can all work on. Obviously, I want to work too with our affordability campaign. Some of you all might have interacted with the Basic Needs Committee on campus. I want to make sure that those minutes are actually publicized online, that they're being transparent about where their funding allocations are going, especially since they might be getting a very large funding increase this upcoming year from the state. Finally, that also deals with some smaller scale things like school supplies and then also laundry services on the hill, which are really unaffordable as they currently stand. So if any of you all want to work with my office on that, I'm here and I definitely want to collaborate on that initiative because I know some of you all have done work at ResLife as well. The last thing that my office is really going to be working on is our acceptance campaign, which deals into the housing policies that currently exist on the Hill and making sure that we're publicizing options for students who might not want to live with someone of the same sex assigned at birth or even the same gender identity, and making sure that that opt-out system is updated to be easy and accessible for all the students who live on campus and known to as many students as possible. That also works on publicizing reporting options for queer and trans students, specifically with Title IX reporting, and making sure that they know what options are available to them to report such incidents. So that's really what I want to do. Hopefully I can work with you all this year. Obviously, come to me if you have any questions. I don't know it all yet. I'm going to make mistakes, and I will not know it all this year ever, so I'm learning too. So please reach out, and I really do want to support you all this year, which hopefully you all will see later on this meeting with appointments review committee, constitutional review committee appointments. Awesome. Okay, so that's it for me. Let's go on. IVP's not here, so we're going to go to EVP. You're good.
Yes, everyone, I'm glad that y'all made it out tonight. I look forward to working with y'all in regards to my office. I don't know, today's just been a really rough day, so I'm not really feeling it, but. Still with the office, I think you all know that I'm documented and that I prioritize documented issues. Not something I take care of other issues here on campus. I'm very involved, so I just want to make sure that I'm in my community and that I'm also going to take care of all of you all. I know that a lot of the work that we do is cannot be just done by ourselves. It can be done by our offices. I really admire the council's ability to work together in all times, and so I want to make sure that we replicate a similar work ethic in terms of making sure that we are doing our jobs in terms of serving the students and communities that we promise to serve.
Go to General One.
Hey y'all, I'm here today. I don't keep short because I know we're already tired already. I just hope to really work with y'all, really like the student body kind of like Robert was saying, so like groups that haven't really been exposed to Usac are exposed to it, know the resources and tools that help with it. And yeah, I'm excited to work with y'all.
Let's go to Facilities Commission.
Hi, I'm the Facilities Commissioner. FAC has a lot of platforms. We have a lot of ongoing work. So I'm not going to really talk about all of it because we do a lot. But to me, facilities is about creating safe spaces for our groups on campus and creating spaces of inclusion, which are my main goals. And I want Usac to be a safe space, and I want all of campus to be a safe space. So that being said, my priorities right now are hiring. I might have invited y'all on Facebook, but that is hiring. It's really, really important to me me that we reach out to groups that don't know about USAC, that want to get involved but don't have a way to do that. I want my office to be as diverse as possible. I want new ideas and new perspectives to come in and revamp some of our older projects. So yeah, share with your friends, people you don't know, anyone, talk about it in class. And then I will be beginning office hours hopefully next week. Once I get my office a little cleaned up, it's like a shoebox. Yeah, there's like 8 chairs in my office. I don't even need one. Like someone's like, anyway, I'll be beginning office hours so people can come talk to me. And then after hiring, my next priority is going to be reaching out to ASU and start working on finding a space for their resource center.
Okay, let's move on to CC.
Hi, I'm Tara. I'm going to be 4th year. So in previous meeting, Allie and I went through like her own what we're doing. Our work is definitely not well finished for the quarter. We have a ton of events going on just in this like upcoming week and next several weeks. Today I just sat down for at least 5 hours interviewing for directorship next year, so I'm really excited about that. We have some like really great leaders coming up. For next year, I'm really working on, I think I want to continue what we've been doing in our events. We've had a lot of amazing events, but I've been hearing from people that they'll tell me that they love so-and-so, and I was like, we just brought them a few months ago, and these people didn't even know. So I think what I'm working on this year is just improving our marketing and reaching out to different student groups that I think would really benefit from our different programming, so that they can really get the most out of what we're doing and what we're passionate about doing. There's another goal that I have for this upcoming year is to be a better resource for other smaller students on campus, not smaller students, smaller student groups on campus. And you know, we do all sorts of like speakers, film screenings, whatever. Is an awesome way to give voice to smaller clubs and smaller communities that don't necessarily have the funding to do so. So that's hopefully something that I'll be working with my commission on this year.
Okay, so my transfer student representative.
Hi, everybody. My name is Isabel. So it's basically an open secret that the transfer student reps office is trying to like transition into a commission style so that we can keep a lot of our projects and staff from year to year, because like a big issue for transfers is that we don't have any time on campus, and when the office changes every single year, we have to start from scratch and like a wheel every single year. Like transfers really suffer from that. So we are going to be transitioning in a commission style and like trying to implement like that tradition for later transfer students. Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Hi everyone, I'm Mika. So I think right now, George mentioned this at earlier meeting, but what I'm currently focused on in the middle of is also hiring. Yeah, there's going to be a board turnover of about 35 to 45 individuals that I'm going to be overseeing. And so thankfully, out of the 12 committees that we do have, many of the committee directors have already sort of started that process. We kind of nudged them to give it a go, even though we didn't have the commissionership all set up as yet. So thankfully that weight is a little bit off me, but for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to be working really hard on interviewing, transitioning, getting the word out. I think one thing the contested election was really good for was publicity. I think a lot more people know about SWC now than did previously, which is awesome. And after that, looking forward into the year, I'm going to be spending like summer and fall really working with my commissioner and chief of staff and hopefully platforms director to make sure that SWC does a lot more of cross-campus collaboration with organizations and entities that we haven't already been reaching out to. We tend to be, because we are so large, we tend to be a pretty insular organization in terms of people that get the work done, and that's something that we're definitely looking to change. I'm looking to change. I hope that I'm able to work with people on this council in some capacity for all of my platforms in the upcoming year, and I hope that I can continue to further the truly amazing, pretty just revolutionary and basic work that my predecessors have put into motion. I'm really excited to do that.
See.
I'm Jonathan. I am a second year currently. CSC, we just finished hiring directors, so that's exciting. Currently plus hiring staff, so we have an info session tomorrow in the Kirkhoff staterooms at 7 p.m. For all of our staff positions. It's really cool. It's not required or anything to apply, but it will definitely be helpful if you're new to the CSC space. Those apps are due Friday at midnight. We're really looking to have a wonderful new staff that's ready to bring some new ideas next year. So exactly looking for that. As far as the office in general for next year, I think the word I've been starting to use is expanding, not in the sense of growing our number of staff or projects, but included in CSC. So as the community service commissioner, really taking the role of the voice for all service-minded students and service work on campus seriously. Our projects are extremely important and are one of our priorities, but also realizing that we have other priorities as well. So really figuring out how we can bring other groups in, how we can be a resource for other groups because we have those resources and we have that knowledge. We have a privilege in that. So expanding is kind of the word I'm feeling out right now. But definitely looking forward to working with everyone and kind of expanding what my role on council can be as well.
So hi everyone, my name is Naomi. I'm also a second year, and I'm super excited to be working with you all. I think that Jared kind of touched on it a little at the previous meeting. We are definitely still in the process of working on other things that the office is finishing up. As you guys know, we oversee the academic success referendum, so we've still been allocating for that. So that's something that's been ongoing. And then just in terms of transitioning, yeah, we've been doing that because of the fact that I was also one of the contested positions. I haven't got to focus on hiring, so now I get to start that hiring process. And I'm excited about that. We're looking to release staff applications, I want to say by Monday. So please spread the word. I want to echo what Lily was saying. I want my office to be as diverse as possible. Again, one of the things that I ran on during the election was the belief that every issue, everything that a student encounters and faces here at UCLA is an academic affair, whether it be their financial situation or the classes that they're in, et cetera. It all ties into our trajectories here at UCLA. So I'm very passionate about that, and I really am confident about my platforms and how they really encapsulate that. So I posted those on my Facebook, but I want to make them more accessible to AAC. So I've been having lots of thoughts about how we're going to make AAC specifically people more aware of what we're about and what we're going to do next year. So again, please help with publicizing. I'm so excited to work with y'all. I really hope that, I know this year CAC and AAC work together, but I hope that goes beyond just CAC and AAC and that we can continue to do that work.
So I have to keep moving on. TSR. Sorry. I just switched the agenda to make it so it's actually about order.
Hi everyone, my name is Shamama. So, first of all, because it's a new office, I think one of my biggest goals will be laying the foundation for the office to make sure it can be successful in the years to come. That being said, I would want to work with all of you because I think the reason we established this office is because in all the work that is done at UCLA on this table, we want international voices to be heard, and I would love it if you all come and collaborate, but also I would definitely approach you, but also I would love y'all to think about if international students are getting included in whatever events or programs you put in, and please feel free to come talk to me. I know it's not, it's easier said than done, like, hey, just include international students and everything. And I really look forward to working with all of you. That being said, like everyone said, publicity is also a huge thing, and once we have our director and staff out, I would also want to stress that just because it's an international student rep office does not mean that only international students have to work here. The Bruin community, this place is my home because domestic students here are welcome to here, and so we can all work together for a cause. So definitely help me spread that, help me spread the word that this office exists and it's in your office. And yeah, I'm excited to work on the podcast and to actually work with them continually.
Hey, I'm Kalechi. I'm gonna do a fourth year. Forgive me, I'm like sick right now. It's really tragic. CAC is gonna keep on being CAC, obviously. We're gonna be supporting marginalized communities, prioritizing communities of color, the best that we know how. I've been in the process of hiring my directors. I'm tired, but it's going really well. Like there have been so many ideas and a lot of enthusiasm around us expanding our programs and like to reach more people on campus because I think we've been having similar issues where everyone else where it's like people express like, oh, that's a really cool thing that you guys did, but I didn't know what at the time was happening. Or like with bringing people like when we just like artists that we brought people like I didn't know we were here. It's like no, we can't really bring you back. And so that's mostly what it's been. I'm just really excited. My staff is really energized. They're always great. So I'm ready for another year of intentional staff. This year our work is not nearly finished. We have so many events still coming up this year, but I won't inundate you with all of them because there's so many. This year, my primary concern, like with our commission externally, is outreach and ensuring that the resources we have access to here move beyond us through our commission. So that's really what I'm trying to focus on. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to working with everyone. So far, we've all been lovely. And I hope everyone works in this larger story itself.
And then let's go on to acting plans. Dr. Gill.
Earlier today, I sent you all an email telling you about a series of workshops that we've planned to give you some of the skills and the knowledge that will launch you into your years. Please, we hope you'll be able to attend all 4 sessions. To make it easiest, we've done it over lunchtime and we will be feeding you. So you've got coming up, your first one will be this Friday. It'll be ASUCLA, going over everything you need to know from an ASUCLA policy and procedure perspective to actually access your offices and do the work that you're going to be doing. The following week, Rob and I will lead a session that will focus on how to effectively run a meeting and some of the policies that you need to understand and comply with. Then the week after that is Memorial Day weekend, so we're not going to expect you to be here on Friday. On the 31st, you'll have a session with all of the advisors in Seoul. Each of you will be assigned a Seoul advisor, and they'll be there all year to support you in your programming. Then on the 7th of June, we've got a special session where we're essentially calling it a Meet Your Administrators Mixer. We're going to invite some of the administrators that you're going to want introductions to, that you're going to want to work with in the coming year, so that we can facilitate those introductions for you. To make sure we bring the people that you're most interested in, over the next week or so, please email me the names of any particular either administrators or offices. If you don't want to know the person's name, if you want, the director of XYZ office, let me know who it is you would like to meet, and we'll send them invitations so that we can get you the people that you're most interested in working with. And of course, we have installation this Saturday. A few other things I wanted to note. First off, my role is who I am. So I'm Deb Geller. I am your administrative representative. My day job, I'm Associate Dean of Students and Deputy Title IX Coordinator for Students. I also teach in the Graduate School of Education. My office is in 1104 Murphy, and anytime you're in the area, feel free to drop by. If I'm not with someone and I'm in the office, I'll welcome you back and be glad to say hello. At the table, My role is to make sure that the actions you take do not conflict with university policy or federal or state law. My role is not to prevent you from making decisions that I might disagree with. It's not to prevent you from making mistakes. We all make mistakes and we learn from them. I will, however, if it appears that you're not fully discussing all aspects of a topic, I might ask you questions to challenge you to look at things more holistically, so that then when you make the decision, you've made it having considered all of your options. Away from the table, I can help facilitate those introductions. If there's someone you want to meet or someone you've been trying to reach out to who's not being responsive, I can try and help. I can also help you navigate the bureaucracy of the university. You're all going to have incredible ideas, and I can help you figure out how to put those ideas into practice. So I'm here for you, and please take advantage. I want to note the media. There is nothing that happens in this room that is ever truly off the record. The Daily Bruin is often present, and from the moment you come into the room until you leave, they are empowered to report on anything they hear, anything they see. It has been practiced for the past few years during public comment to offer an opportunity for those who wish to address you without having their images or their voices broadcast to do so. Just because you are providing that opportunity so that someone who may have some privacy concerns and may not want to be broadcast can talk to you, doesn't mean that the Bruin can't report on what happens during that session. It's not off the record, it is part of your public meetings. So please do understand that. And the media can be your friend. If you're open to answering their questions when they come looking for information, they can also help you publicize your programs, your initiatives. So respect them, but also be aware that there is no such thing as, off the record. When you're doing Usac, you're an elected official and they have the opportunity to report on whatever happens. When we end the meetings and go into good and welfare, it's not captured in the minutes. But if the media is present, they have the right to report on what they hear. They typically respect the private nature of that section, but understand they don't have to, and they may be present. Abstaining. You are going to have lots of opportunities to vote in the year ahead. You're going to vote on things like minutes. You abstain if you weren't at the meeting. You're going to be voting on appointments. You're going to be voting on resolutions. You're going to be voting on funding, on all sorts of important topics. You abstain for one of two reasons. Either you have a substantial conflict of interest, meaning that you would personally benefit or your office would benefit from the outcome of that vote. You won't, for example, you will not vote on funding that would be funding for your office. Or you abstain because you lack the basic information necessary to be able to vote. For example, you can't vote on minutes if you weren't at the meeting. You don't know if they were accurate or not. You do not abstain because it's easier than voting against something, because it's easier than voting against groupthink. Own your opinions and voice them. You've heard it said before, but I'll reinforce the message. Council is a place to debate issues, not to attack individuals. There will be times you agree, there will be times you disagree. Focus on the issue, not the person who's having a difference of opinion. This needs to be a respectful and inclusive place. You've heard the request to use inclusive language, gender inclusive. I would also encourage you to think in terms of accessibility. In doing the swearing in, and I know she meant no harm, the Usac Board Justice asked for everyone to stand. It's important to recognize that there are all sorts of reasons why a person may not be able to do that. When you have people come in to stand before you for interviews who are up for appointments, I encourage you to invite them to stand if they're able. Don't assume that someone who walked in is able to stand for the duration of an interview. So being respectful of the different forms of diversity within the community is important. I want to encourage you, if you haven't yet done so, to go read your Constitution and bylaws. They exist for a reason. The Constitution you may not change and you may not deviate from. The bylaws, you have a process for changing. And in the year ahead, you will inevitably make changes to the bylaws. When it comes to making changes to bylaws, you have a process, and you'll go through that process. But the things that are in your bylaws, you need to comply with. There is no such thing as setting aside the bylaws. They specify under what circumstances you have exceptional authority. And if it's not in the bylaws, you can't do it. I want to remind you, you're all students first. You need to take care of your academics. You are no good to us if you're not a student. So be sure that as you balance all of the things you're involved with, going to class is at the top of your list. You also need to take care of your health. Because if you're not well, you're not of any value to yourself or anyone else. It can be tempting to burn the candle at both ends. Be sure to take care of yourself, focus on your well-being, figure out what it is that is your personal form of self-care, and give yourself permission to have time away from this job. And you're all going to do incredible work in your offices. Historically, you've been better at doing the great work than you've been at talking about the great work you're doing. So I want to ask that each of you, at least once a quarter, does a presentation during the special presentation section where you talk about what it is you've accomplished so far and what you're planning on for the year ahead. And feel free to involve your staff in those presentations. It's a great opportunity for you to give them exposure and recognition for the great work they're going to be doing as well. But what happens here is on the record, often reported by the Bruin. You often have members of your constituency here in the audience, and it's a way to promote the programs that you've accomplished and those that are coming up. Take advantage of that. Herald the great work that you do. At council, you're going to do different kind of work. You're going to come together to collaborate. Hopefully you will find some things that you can all collaborate on to really show your constituents that council is more than 15 separate offices doing 15 separate sets of programming, that it is a group that can collaborate to add value to the undergraduate experience. You're going to take positions on all sorts of issues. And so I encourage you, participate in the conversations, engage in the interviews. One of the most important things you are going to do in the first few months of your office, you're all going to appoint dozens of students to sit on campus-wide committees, to give those committees a student voice. When people come in front of you for those interviews, remember you are not looking for the single most qualified student in the entire campus community. You are looking for someone who has the commitment and the passion and the interest and who is capable of learning what that committee does. There's not a committee on this campus that won't take the time to train the student members on the essential things they need to know to be engaged. What they can't do is take someone who doesn't have the passion for their work and give them passion. They can't take someone who doesn't have the time and get them to show up at their meetings. So you're looking for someone who can be successful. That may never be the single most qualified person. Maybe that person isn't interested. So again, remember, it can be really scary standing in front of this group and going through an interview. Be kind to the people who come in front of you who've applied for these various positions. But also encourage them to report back to you so that you can hear what the work is of all the committees that you're putting a student voice onto. And that's where I'll stop for today. But those are just some things to get you thinking about as you begin to do the work that's coming. We'll be here every Tuesday through week 10. And then your schedule will be something that'll be determined week 10 for the summer. Hopefully, you will all be available to engage in one form or another during the summer. I will ask that you use the next 3 weeks to really figure out what your summer availability is, so that when in week 10, the summer schedule is set, you're all able to clearly articulate what your limitations are when you can participate. We're in the unfortunate position of being down 3 offices. And that means reaching quorum can be a challenge. So we really need everyone to engage so that you can take actions. And so looking forward to getting to know all of you a bit better and seeing the great work you're going to do.
I'll try to be short. That is really your best resource for UCLA and Usac history and kind of protocol and policy. I think what I bring to the table is an engagement with local community politics and working within the neighborhood council system. I'm a former president of the neighborhood association, former chair of a neighborhood council. I've served on a citywide redistricting commission for the city of LA. I'm engaged in local kind of politics stuff. I'm a vice chair of the West Side Regional Alliance of Councils, which is a council of neighborhood councils in the West LA area. So it can give you a sense of what is happening in the West Side of LA and some of the issues and politics and opportunities there. In terms of kind of my passions and areas of interest, I've worked at UCLA nearly 30 years, most of that in residential life in the last couple of years at the Center for Accessible Housing, helping them with housing accommodations. Have a background, have done a lot of work around public safety and emergency preparedness. Have been working, representing UCLA at Census 2020 planning, and so I hope to pull in some of you into some of that as we gear up for that process. Have been involved in the Great Streets project and have a passion for kind of mobility, cycling safety, and Vision Zero. Vision Zero is a commitment by the city to reduce traffic fatalities to 0. And the risks, the high risk areas are in socioeconomically depressed areas. It's an exciting opportunity. The city is also doing some, I think, interesting stuff around the new Green Deal and sustainability and kind of as well as resilience. So a couple of those I think have opportunities and implications for some of you, and I hope you'll take advantage of that. My hobbies are bees, bikes, and beer. I'm a home brewer, a bike rider, and a beekeeper. So hopefully, I'll bring you some jars of honey in the near future. So that's me.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Alexander. I work with UCLA, so this is my day job. So I look forward to working with all of you throughout the year. I also am the person that manages TGIF. So definitely like all sustainability stuff. Shout out to Lily. Definitely like, let's talk because I think TGIF is definitely a like a course and a lot of great sustainability projects and ideas come from people who are not necessarily involved in these spaces. So I just want to go over a couple more documents that you have in your lovely centennial folders. So first, my business card is here. So feel free to reach out to me. I will also be giving you my cell phone number, but not on Usac Live. So maybe later we move into the go there. But my office is on Aloha and African Union, so definitely feel free to stop by at any time and chat. As an elected officer, you don't need to check in at the window. You can just walk on back if I'm in my office. I'm happy to meet you. There's also Fernando, who is full-time career staff. He supports you all with a lot of your contracts. So you'll get to meet everybody on the ASUCLA team this Friday. Hopefully you all can make it. So just to go to that schedule, there's a sheet in here of important dates. So like Dr. Kelly mentioned, we have a series of 4 workshops set up for you all where we're going to give you lunch and also kind of deep dive into some of the skills that you'll need to facilitate your office throughout the year. The other key events, Usac installation is this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. in the Kerbuck Grand Salon. You also have invitations in your folders. So one is for you to keep, and then the other 4 are for you to invite your friends, family, people on your staff, whoever you want to have there. It's going to be a ceremony and a reception to follow. So hopefully you all can make it to that. Your office access can officially begin on the 16th. So there's an access request form. We're going to get your signatures on file, but you need to fill out one of these and bring your room card by a level acronym to get added to your door. If you are in an office where you're keeping a lot of the staff that are currently working there, just send me an email and let me know you want to keep everybody on the door, and we'll extend their access to the end of June. But otherwise, we will term out anybody who's currently on the door, and then you all basically are the signatories of your office to then assign access to anybody else that you hire for your staff. So each person's going to need a form. You'll need to sign off on it. That is just something to get you started, but just note that we will process those starting the 16th. Also, another important date, Usac headshots. So you all get to be featured on the displays around African Union and Kerbuck Hall. So we'll actually take a professional headshot for you all, and then you can also have that to use on your LinkedIn profiles or wherever else you like. So that's going to be on the 21st of May. We're going to do it right before the meeting from 6 to 7 p.m. in the Kerbuck, or meet at Kerbuck Art Gallery, because the office or the studio where they take the headshots is kind of like back behind that, and it's a little bit tricky to get to. If you cannot make it, hopefully you can, but if you just have some extenuating circumstance where you can't be there anytime between 6 to 7, it takes like less than a few minutes to get them done. We obviously will be scheduling a second round once we have the 3 additional officers elected in the fall. So that would be the only time to make up your photo, just because they do charge by the hour. So please just email me and let me know if it's going to be an issue to take it on the 21st. The 24th of May, if you can take your documents to HR for your I-9 form, it's Kerbuck 219. So if you're already hired or working for ASUCLA, you can skip this step because you'll already be in the system for UCPath. But this is basically just get into UCPath so that you can be stipended for all of your hard work. And we'll get out the hiring paperwork at a later date, and that'll be due on May 31st. And then the rest of the dates on there are the 4 workshops, so you can keep that, put it in your calendars. That's pretty much it. I think I already mentioned the nameplate, so definitely we'll send you all a mock-up of what your nameplate will say. This way you can decide if you want to have, your name written differently, if you want to add your middle name, if you want to, use your preferred name. We can definitely do the pronoun, so is that something just like by a nod, are you all interested, everybody's down, okay. So we'll go ahead and, order those the same way for you all too, so that will probably happen. Other than that, look forward to working with you all, and certainly feel free to reach out whenever you need anything or have any questions.
Thank you, Jessica, and the rest of our admin reps. I'm just gonna echo a few things that they said, that I found to be really important, or that might have been missed, by even myself last year as a council member, that I definitely want to emphasize is, definitely the abstaining process. It's very easy to be in the middle of a very difficult decision that we're making as a council and just want to abstain. I would highly encourage you not to do that. You know, we were all elected to sit at this table and make decisions on behalf of the student body, and, you know, use your voice and give your judgment in a way that, you know, would make your constituents proud that elected you. And like like Dr. Geller said, abstain should only be done when you have a direct conflict of interest, or when you are like not there for the event that transpired that you're voting on. So just to echo that. Also read your bylaws. Like, this is so important because you'll catch yourself if you do something or say something or want to do something and realize that it's either, you know, already established in another office, or your office already has some sort of protocol set up to handle that. So please read it. I would encourage you to read all of the bylaws. It takes maybe an hour to read everything. I would do it. We're going to be probably changing bylaws a lot this year, just like we did last year. So please, please, please read the bylaws. It's not the most fun thing you're going to do. It will be incredibly helpful. Talking about the great work you're doing once again, I feel like all of us want to continue the publicity that we're doing as council. So I really do, and I have a discussion item on here to talk about how we can do that. Please talk about it. You are all going to do great things, and definitely want to publicize that. Participation quorum, as Dr. Geller said, we are dangerously close to the number, which is 10 for quorum. The Constitution, after reviewing it with Jessica, is somewhat vague on what we need for a quorum. It says 3/4 of the officers of the association, or 2/3, sorry. We do not know if that means there hasn't been a judicial board case on it. We do not know if that means 2/3 of the elected officers or 2/3 of the officers as in the bylaw and constitutional written down officers, which is 15 now. Does that make sense? So I would prefer that we not get a judicial board case called on us and that we just meet the quorum for 10 as of now. Can we all like commit to somewhat doing that? And that will involve coordination. I'm going to do what Claire did last year too, where each week before the council meeting, I'll post in the group meet and say like this message if you can't be there. And then just like if you can't be there so we can know what our number is going to be. Can we all commit to doing that? Okay, awesome. The last thing I'll say, oh yeah, sorry.
I'm assuming I will be there every time, but in the case that you cannot be, does a proxy count?
No, so a proxy does not, you should send a proxy regardless to retain information and give your office a report. The only problem with a proxy is they do not count towards quorum, unfortunately. So that's the issue, is that we, as officers that were elected, have to physically be here to make our vote and quorum count. But that's a great question. The last thing is the admin reps. Again, is like, I know they're saying this, and I at first was hesitant to believe them and like their admin, etc. They're incredible. I walk into Jessica's office every week, every single week. I walked into Dr. Geller's office today to discuss council matters. Please do it. I mean, these people have sat at council longer than any of us have, and then longer than any of us probably will. Use that to your advantage. They are incredibly valuable, intelligent resources that can guide you through most of the problems you'll experience. So with that, just please, I just want to emphasize those points before we move on. We don't have old business today. We will have old business in the future. And with that, we're going to move into new business. I do have a discussion about the CARE program director on here. do we still want to discuss that on this council as well? I know that many of you all were there for old council discussing that. Do we want to have a conversation about that? Is that something we want to do, or do we want to wait until next week?
Jessica got her contact information and sent it to me, and Trans Community, like Jessica said, is dealing with something very, very similar right now that can't be discussed in public forum. So like, we'll be working together with her to like help her understand like what the correct like steps are right now, because like this is a personnel issue, and like she mentioned, like this is not something that like that person is even like totally on board with at the moment, so we'll be reaching out to her.
Wait, when you say her, do you mean Alicia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so does that mean we should probably wait on this discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, let's,
When we're gonna get like more information on what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate the comment, but, you know, we're gonna discuss it, and I wanna know what the heck is going on.
so I've already sent an email out to Chancellor Block, Vice Chancellor Gordon, Dean Landisi, and Susan Seplow, and some other administrators to seek that information. And we can also call them in the council next week. Hopefully Susan Seplow might be there, or Vice Chancellor Gordon to discuss. So I will follow up with you on that, yeah.
Can someone briefly explain what this is? For everyone who's-
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can sort of briefly explain what happened. Through information that I talked to like my board members for Group Consent Coalition about, because they work with CARE like, all the time. And so essentially on Friday, I think it was, on Friday, the current care, like director of the care program, Alicia was let go. And by the administration, on the basis that they're kind of looking to go in a new direction, they're looking for someone with a little more clinical experience, and they gave sort of a few other reasons that, there's a lot of people upset about it. That's kind of, and then, so moving into like more opinion-based things, there's a lot of people who are sort of upset about it because, I think we heard from public comment earlier, because, everyone's, actually, you were not there. So there's like a few community members who are very upset about it because, Alicia was, I think, a member. She was a director for 2 years, and then there's also somebody who was recently hired, like in the fall, to serve under her, who basically only took the position, one of the care advocates, there's only two, and she basically took the position in order to serve like under Alicia's guidance, and now that Alicia's not there, there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether she will continue, and it's already a pretty major issue that we only have 2 care advocates in the office.
So let's go with Rob and Lily.
I'm gonna say, that my comments are a little off topic.
Oh, okay, let's go Lily.
I just wanted to say, be careful, with the phrasing used. Like, they made it very clear that she's not fired, she's not let go, her contract wasn't renewed. Which I think we should, since this is a public record, we should be very clear. And like Bethany said, this is a very private and sensitive topic. I don't feel comfortable like diving into it without the proper information and the proper channels.
Was that directed at me?
Oh, no, I saw you raising your hand earlier, so I'm just trying to keep track of that.
No,
Okay, cool. So, yeah,
Can I know, like, by when can I expect to happen here this weekend?
it will probably be next council. So I will definitely follow up with all of you all with agreeing about that, but it will very likely, and I think Dr. Geller has been working with me a little bit with that to make sure someone is here next council to provide some clarity. Obviously, they also cannot discuss matters dealing with like a personnel period specifically and like any specifics on why the person's, in any individual's contract might be renewed or not renewed, but they can discuss issues surrounding that about how care can continue to be supported, what that's going to look like for the next few weeks, and how we can engage with that too as council. Is that cool? Okay, so we'll,
This year, the operations program also had one of our main staff, not have their contract renewed. And they had both personal and administrative reasons for why that happened, so it definitely is very helpful to have a lot more information regarding what it is, because even when we have a lot of advocacy regarding we need this position filled. There was not a lot of action from the administrative side. So I think as much information as possible really can help students actually know what their needs and what they can voice to administration, because when students have really good impact, when they don't have, staff there.
Thank you. Any other final comments about this topic? Okay, so because of that, obviously the resolution is struck from this agenda. I'm going to move on to something that I'm excited to do and really excited to work with you all for is two of my most important appointments I view of council is the Appointments Review Committee and then the Constitutional Review Committee. So just for some background before I say who I appointed and everything, both of these committees allow all council members to come to these meetings, attend, and have their voice heard. So the only thing I am appointing today is people who have votes to make recommendations. Both of these committees are just recommending bodies. So I am going to make appointments throughout the year, and other, some of your all's offices will make appointments as well. Those, if they are stipended, have to absolutely go through an ARC interview process, and then ARC has to vote to make a recommendation. There are 3 voting members of ARC. I chaired ARC last year as IVP. In the bylaws, it's established that the IVP shall chair the ARC, so Kim will be our chair of ARC, who coordinates those meetings. If I appoint you to ARC today, those meetings are going to happen very quickly, and if you feel uncomfortable with that commitment for these next couple of weeks, please let me know so I can reappoint someone else. So please be on the lookout for that. I will also appoint one alternate. This past year, we kind of established a precedent where the alternate attends the meeting and is vocal at the meetings, and also can have a vote if the chair decides to abstain or if one of the other members is not there. For CRC, this requires a formal approval action item vote by council tonight. It's 3 people. Any bylaw changes that are made to council or any election extensions of the bylaws, including but not limited to like election code, must also go through CRC for a recommendation. These bodies and the chairs of these bodies will then report to council every time we do a bylaw change or an appointments and make their recommendation. So you either approve, disapprove, or give no recommendation for both CRC and ARC. Does that make sense? These are simply recommendations, and then council will do a formal vote for bylaw changes and appointments. Okay? With that in mind, I'm first going to do ARC, and once again, this decision was obviously tough because 8 of you all reached out for 2 voting positions and 1 alternate position. I chose this based off appointments and doing outreach to communities that traditionally have not been reached out to in the appointments process, and making sure I have representation of community members and offices that focus on that sort of work. And then also with CRC, there were, I think, 4 people who wanted that position, and I have to pick 3. Once again, if you have any questions, please let me know about how I chose. And then also, both of these committees are open to all council members coming and having their voices considered. So for ARC, this one, once again, is just my decision. It doesn't require a vote of council. Kalechi and Shahama are going to be our voting members, and then Johanna will be our alternate. Okay? Is that cool with everybody? Awesome. And then please reach out if you have any questions or concerns, because I know there are 5 of you who also wanted that, and I want to make sure you're engaged with the appointments process too. Especially with my appointments, I made this very clear when I ran, and I'm still beholden to that, is I want us to be as all engaged as possible and make sure we get the best appointments this year. Okay? So CRC, this is going to require a vote of council with a motion and second. I have chosen Isabel, Lalo, and Jonathan to be on that committee, and Isabel will be the chair. Does that sound good with everybody? Okay, so we're going to have to do a vote on that, the second one. So if we want to discuss it first, we don't want to discuss it first, and then I just need a motion to approve the second, and then a vote.
I have a quick question. Is this one of those instances where we should abstain since we're the one?
Yes, if you're appointed, you should abstain. That is a great question on conflict of interest. Question.
Little question, just like, what is the distinction between like this voting chair versus voting, like, what is she chair?
So the chair just coordinates the meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, they will be like, oh, we're meeting here in my office, etc.
Say it just like
And I'm basing that kind of on what Jessica had told me a little bit about you, and Jessica obviously was a very engaged member of ARC this year, so I view that as like me having a lot of confidence that you'll be able to handle that respectively. And I'm less concerned about that more so than ARC. ARC, we are going to be incredibly busy these next 4 weeks. I am going to be appointing board of directors, our new election board chair, student fee advisory committee, our FICOM chair. All of that must be done by week 10 of this quarter. So you all should expect to meet this coming week, the next week, and the next week to do interviews for all of those appointments and make your honest recommendations on if you think I've done my job to make those appointments as fair and inclusive as possible, and if the presidential search committee's done that too. Cool? Okay, so anybody have any other questions before somebody makes a motion in a second? Yeah, Lily.
I have a slight question about appointments, given that my office has a ton. I know that Claire was working on a document to like have all the appointments and the dates of hiring, because FAC has several that are 2-year terms. So will we be given access to that document?
I have not been given access to that yet, yeah.
Okay.
We'll help share that with you, and then there's also Karen Hedges, who you'll meet this Friday as well, if you're able to attend. She works directly on a lot of the appointments and keeping track of those appointments, and so she'll be working with you all for some of those important committees. But we definitely will share that with you and show you all.
Awesome. Other questions? Okay, once again, I know a lot of you have personally reached out. In fact, 8 of you personally reached out to me talking about wanting to be involved in the appointments process. Please still be involved if you're not on the appointments review committee. Tell me if there are individuals that you think are qualified. And I'm going to be begging your offices to publicize these appointments this coming week and the next week and the next week. So please be on the lookout for that, and please give me any valid criticisms that you'll have, and anybody else, because I know multiple offices once again will be making appointments this year. Cool.
Are we nominating or are we sending out applications?
So are you asking about the appointments process, how that works? So yeah, my office will be sending out applications. The way it works is I have a committee, which is called the Presidential Search Committee, that does outreach to find those appointments. Once I select people that I think are the best for those appointments, I send them to ARC. ARC will review, make a recommendation to council, and then we will do a formal vote to approve. So that's the same way it works for EVP2 with some of your all's UCSA appointments as well. Other questions? Okay. I'm going to make a motion. So it would be a motion to approve the Constitutional Review Committee appointments.
A motion to approve the Constitutional Review.
Gentlemen, seconds. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All against? All abstaining? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so by a vote of 7 to 0 to 3, the motion passes and the Constitutional Review Committee appointments are approved. Thank you all. This is going to be great. Okay. Now the quorum bylaw change, we can also table that because that is unnecessary. It's not in the bylaws, it's in the Constitution, and also we don't know the full interpretation of what that constitutional provision entails. Does that make sense, everybody?
Which I would say, certainly if you all want to consult judicial board, that's what they're also here for, to support you in determining the interpretation of your guys' documents. But it's definitely for your all's discretion to interpret the Constitution and what you think that the interpretation is in terms of what your form would be. The only thing that you need to strictly adhere to is that it's 2/3 of whatever number. It's either 2/3 of you all sitting here who were elected, or it's 2/3 of the 15 available positions. So you just need to make your best judgment and stick with that. And if you want to consult with the judicial board to get their opinion on it as well, that's a great opportunity for you all to utilize the resources that you have.
I kind of want to know what's the opposition in consulting J board in something like this? Because I know it's probably in our best interest to make sure that we like don't go under quorum, or there are instances where things happen and people don't show up for whatever reason. We don't want to be understaffed when something like that occurs. So what is kind of the opposition?
There is none, I think. They're undergoing internal elections in the transition these next 2 weeks, and also 5 of them are graduating. So I'm going to be making 5 judicial board appointments within these next 5 weeks for a judicial board that consists of 7 people. So I think that we would probably want the interpretation of the new judicial board and not the current judicial board, just by nature of them leaving very quickly. Yeah.
Is there like a formal means that we're supposed to reach out to judicial board, or can we just like message them?
So in
Like,
this,
do we know them?
yeah, in this case, usually there is a petition process if somebody's filing a complaint. In this case, I think this would be just us messaging them, having them come in. In past councils, we just had them come in and talk to us about what they think the reasoning is behind the bylaw or constitutional position. Yeah.
If we don't meet quorum, does that mean resolutions get pushed to the next week?
All action items will not be able to happen, or consent items will not be able to happen as long as we don't have quorum. So that's why I think Kim had a message to go on this week as well, and she was very much so making sure she was able to miss, and then we would still have quorum. Quorum during the summer can go down to 8 people, and quorum can also be online. So that's something to consider. I personally know that I'm not going to be here for a portion of the summer. So last year, for example, council had a multitude of online meetings via Google Hangouts. Any other questions? John? You look like you want to ask me something. Okay. Katie,
May not be here,
okay, thank you for letting us know that.
Unless it's like absolutely necessary.
That's 2. So if everyone else can still please be here, that would be greatly appreciated. I know there's no guarantees for sickness and stuff, but please try your best, because next week is when we actually start our funding allocations. So one of the primary duties of our council is to allocate funds to student boards. We are not able to do that without quorum, so just please keep that in mind. Okay, any other final questions about this? These are all like really great questions that definitely you all need to know the answers to. Yeah.
So to clarify, calling the meeting count as like being present at the meeting or quorum?
No, so you have to, only during the summer, currently, and then afterwards, you have to be physically here for it to be counted as quorum. That's a good question too. Anybody else?
What happens when people leave meetings early?
We lose quorum. If it goes below 10, quorum is lost.
for the next 4 weeks, since I will be fasting, is it okay if I just leave for like 30 minutes to just pray and make my fast without quorum?
So as long as a vote's not happening, the meeting can continue. It would just be that we would have to wait to do those votes until you come back. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. We've had multiple people do that this year.
What Robert can do with the IVP is structure the agenda so that during the time that you need to leave for your break fast, that could be when things like officer reports occur, which don't require quorum.
Please keep asking questions. These are all really good ones. The other thing to note is to not be late at the beginning of council meetings, just because we do have, I think, a 20-minute time frame where if we do not gather by those first 20 minutes, we cannot hold a meeting of what's designated on the agenda. So a lot of this is just communication. It's like the group me is really helpful, and that like, you're gonna be there in 5 minutes, like I'm running there, like please let us know so that we know who's coming and who's not. So please just communicate with that on the group meeting. It should be fine, and we should be able to work everything out.
I wanted to share a little bit of information about the Brown Act.
Yes.
Just because I think, well, Usac is not required to follow the Brown Act. It is something that is relevant for almost all other elected positions in the state of California. Ralph Brown was an advocate, and it's also nicknamed the Sunshine Law. And that is, neighborhood councils and many elected folks are prohibited from conducting discussion behind closed doors, meaning everything needs to be done transparently and in front of the public. So for a neighborhood council, we are required to post an agenda 3 days in advance, 72 hours, and if we don't, the meeting can't happen. You have some leeway. Some of the other things that happen though is we also cannot discuss things behind closed doors. So we can't have conversation with individuals without disclosing it, and if it results in a majority of the electeds, it would be a violation. Again, it's meant to create the greatest transparency so that public has an opportunity to see you all debate about questions. So while you're not required to abide by it, I think in general practice, having conversations in public forums and discuss issues where there's advance notice is a good, just basic kind of rule to follow wherever possible.
If I can add on to that.
I have 2 questions in terms of that. So what does that mean for the group? Like, should we keep that to like just vague like questions like, are you gonna be here soon? Like, are we all gonna go out afterwards?
Yeah, so neighborhood councils and others, they can figure out logistics, right? But if you're gonna say, hey, what do you think about this motion? That's substantive. And so that, in the spirit of that, you would want to do that in a public forum.
And yeah, okay, so.
And then my second question refers back to the 2 committees. Then do we need to take minutes for those, or can we just meet?
In the past, there's been minutes that have been taken at both of those meetings. It's not a requirement, instead of the recommendation.
And you're making those recommendations then too in a public forum, so it's mitigated in some way. So while you're not required, I think trying to adhere or know that that's an operating principle in many other places would improve your sense of accountability to your constituents.
Especially for ARC, I would highly recommend you take minutes because some appointments will come over scrutiny, and you want to be able to present to council why you made the recommendation that you made in a way that's logical but also respectful of that person and what the answers they gave at ARC interview. So please keep that in mind. What I'll add to that is that the agenda deadline, this is something that the current council has struggled, or the previous council has struggled with, that I definitely think Ken will reiterate. Thursday, 5 p.m., all items that you want on the agenda should be finalized and sent into the IDP email. A resolution, a document, appointments, a vote should be sent in by Thursday, 5 p.m. before council. Friday, 5 p.m., the IDP should be committed to sending out the agenda to all of you all via email with that documentation. So please, if you have any items on the agenda, please do it.
Can you like just repeat that list of things? Like you said, resolution, vote, you said like 5 things.
So any item, anything.
Like officer member reports or.
Oh, sorry, so there are some things that are continuing.
Okay.
Officer member reports are continuing, and so are our budget applications that we make. Any additional items, for example.
Decisions.
Yes.
Any decisions.
A resolution, appointments, any unique funding allocations, any discussion items, special presentations, Thursday, 5 p.m. to the IDP email, which is usaidp@gmail.com. The other 2 things I'll say with the group meet, there could be an instance this year, and this happened last year, where we will get a public records request. All of your professional emails that you use in the group meet too can be, I don't like using the word subpoena, but can be public record requests where we are required to turn over every single piece of documentation that is in that. So does that make sense? So please be very mindful of the information that you're disclosing on your public emails and also within the group meet, because there's a possibility that that is requested by the public and can be used in whatever way the public deems necessary.
Public meaning our USAA
Yes.
emails, not our UCLA email.
So I can address that. If you draw a line of distinction and you do not use your regular email address to conduct Usac business, then you can keep that separate from the public record arena. If you cross over and you use your personal email to conduct any business, then everything on your email becomes subject to public record requests. And when requests come in, they're for specific things. It's not give us everything you've sent, it's give us everything you have that's specific to whatever the actual request is. And some things would be redacted by council before they were released. So, but best practice, use your office's email for your office engagement. Use your personal student email for your life as a student.
Does that start like now? Because I've been doing work that's ongoing from my personal email.
So they can request from your email from years before you were there as well. So we actually have an instance of that this year, with a public records request. It was prior to even when I assumed office. So please be mindful of that as well.
Good time to merge your email.
I would run the document students, and they wouldn't log their information out there no matter what. How would that work?
So again, the identity of individual students is always redacted and protected when documentation is released. Those of you in office don't have that same right of privacy. But anything that's communicated between you and any of your constituents, if there were a public record request, the names, identities, and all personally identifiable information about students who are not elected or appointed to office would be redacted so that their identity and privacy were protected. The contents of the discussions would be disclosed if appropriate to the request, but not the identity of the individual or anything that could be used to identify that person. And I think the question about when kind of this all begins, you were not officers until today. So from today forward, from 10 o'clock tonight forward, your communications are in the context of you are elected Usac officials. One of the things you will want to do as you transition the old officer out and you take over the office's emails, make sure that anything that is no longer needed, you do delete. You keep the information that's in those accounts, the things you'll continue to need to work from and reference, but anything that has no value to you moving forward, go ahead and purge. You're not required to keep old information, but if a request comes in and you have it, you're required to release it. And more, you're required to take the time and energy to dig through and search for things that might be responsive to an obscure request. So your best practice, go ahead, find some time, work through the email accounts and get rid of the things that you don't need to have.
You said that identities would be redacted if they are a student that's not elected or appointed with the office. So like regarding acquainted with the office, does that mean they're respected directors?
Not I would use the word acquainted, it's appointed.
Oh,
So someone who is elected, who you as a council have appointed, or anyone in your office who's paid.
so our second director.
If they are stipended.
Okay.
So some of your staff and some of your offices will be employees, others will be volunteers. The identity of someone who goes on payroll, they become employees, and employees don't have the same rights of privacy as students.
I feel like that's important to disclose to all the others.
Any other questions about all of this sort of logistics?
Just like I know earlier, Rob brought up like communications, like the majority of council. So does that mean just like any like group message that's like more than 8 people? Like, do you know what I'm just kind of getting at? Like so if we had like an iMessage group or like a Facebook Messenger chat with like more than 8 out of, let's say, in the future 15 council members on it, is that like something that, I know this is really.
So it even applies to like serial meetings. So
Okay.
if Deb and I have a conversation, and Deb has a conversation with you, and it kind of works down,
Okay.
and it reaches a majority, that would be a violation. So again, you're not compelled to observe the Brown Act.
Yes.
However, in the spirit of it, be thoughtful and mindful.
Okay, understand.
It's not about just communication. If it's communication, can you be there? That's cool. It's communication about how are you inclined to vote on an issue. It's communication on things of substance. You don't want to, as a group, get together and decide how you're going to vote on a particular item before you come to council.
I don't want this to like scare us from like making a joke or having fun in the group. Like the whole council did that all the time, and like we've done that this year. Like that shouldn't deter you all from doing that. Just don't say something that's crazy, ridiculous that you want published in the Daily Good, right? You can still send a meme or something like that occasionally. Like I know that that's something that's been done in the past. So please just don't be terrified of this. Just be mindful of obviously.
We're not included in the group me, so we don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You want to be in it?
One other thing I do want to mention, Robert mentioned how next week you're going to start making funding allocations. Many of your offices administer funds. Some of them have already exhausted the funds for this year. The rest of you, you've got a few weeks left, bless you, in which you'll be making allocations from those funds. But then you're going to go into a period where this fiscal year ends, and before you start allocating for next fiscal year, each of you that has a fund will need to review your funding guidelines, bring those to council this summer before you make any allocations from them for approval of council. You may want to make changes, you may not. Either way, bring your funding guidelines to this body. You present them, there are consent items. Everyone votes by consent. And once they've been approved, then you'll be able, when the fiscal year is open, to make the allocations. You cannot make any allocations until your funding guidelines have been approved. And we'll talk more in a few weeks, but the one and only real restriction on your funding guidelines is that whatever you put in place, it must be viewpoint neutral. That means you cannot decide whether or not to fund a group or an activity based on what it believes in or what it stands for. You can have all sorts of other criteria that you put in place, but viewpoint cannot be the basis for granting or denying funding. So you'll have that opportunity. You'll want to review your funding guidelines. If you have any funds, there were a few new funds put in place just this quarter that may not even have guidelines. You may be developing them, but do take a look, think about what you would like to have in place, and you'll do that before you start allocating for the next fiscal year. For the remainder of this fiscal year, if you did pick up a fund that still has money, you have to use the prior year's funding guidelines because you cannot change the conditions of a fund mid-year. That makes sense? So if your funds in your office still have money in them, between now and the end of spring, you're going to be making your allocations based on guidelines put in place by your predecessor. Then you're going to come forward with your guidelines, which will apply to next year.
Does that include like for staff or is it specifically for opposition chamber? Like for staff that work for your office?
I'm not aware of any funds that are just for staff. We're not talking about stipends.
Okay.
We're talking about the funding pools that typically their individuals or organizations can apply for money for travel, for advocacy, for programming. And so those types of funding pools, you're going to have a set of rules that apply that you or a committee that you appoint will use to decide who gets how much.
So the CAP, EVP, SWC, FICOM will all be running funding funds where, oh, sorry, yeah, a few others too. No, totally, there's more. Each week will be, voting to, or consent item vote to allocate those funds. Also, sorry, do you want to introduce yourself to council? I totally missed that.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Nadia. I'm currently the vice chair of FICOM. So I'm the boxing for
Sweet. I will probably be appointing her to chair of FICOM, full transparency. That will go through ARC. It has been tradition where the vice chair becomes chair, given your extensive experience that I know, and Brian's recommendation of you already to me as FICOM chair. So please be on the lookout for that because that's one of the appointments we will be making in the next few weeks. Just heads up for that. Any other logistical questions? A lot of this stuff will be talked about at our nuts and bolts meetings as well through ASUCLA too. Any final things? Okay, so let's move on to the last two items on the agenda, which is a resolution regarding the misrepresentation of student organizations and the discussion on student engagement and all council coordination. So Lalo and Kalechi, I know that you all have been doing a lot of work with this resolution. Do you all want to lead this discussion for us?
Sure.
Can you re-share it? Because I think the file attachment on the initial one couldn't open it.
Okay, let me.
Or you can share it through Google Docs and just share the.
Okay, what's the email I should share?
You can do J Alexander at ASUCLA. .ecla. Yep.
Is there everybody else? I know many of you don't have access to your council emails yet or your official emails. If you do, it should have been sent out through that way as well.
Can I just ask a question? I know I'm like a job I personally don't want to do. I don't know, but since mine is a new office, how do I get an official email for the office and I don't have to be public record and everything?
We'll set you up for one.
Okay, thank you.
So what do we do if we don't have access to our office email yet?
Okay,
Can you like share it?
I can put it here.
Can you
we can do a shareable link.
Okay, well, I'm just joking.
We could do a shareable link in the group meeting. Yeah. Sorry about the delay, y'all.
Thank you. Can you address the viewing access?
I press get shareable link. I will then remove from the TV and record.
Oh.
Review. It just press that. And then remove the TV. And then send back the copy and then send it in.
Should be a second. How is it going? Do we like read the whole thing out and then discuss or
So-
like?
Yeah, a resolution is a statement, a formal statement made by, or even more than a formal statement, it is an all council resolution. So while you see that there's sponsors up at the top, once this is voted on, it represents council's opinion on the matter. So the way that this usually works is obviously all of you should read the thing in full, and any concerns you bring up, you should bring up before we vote on it. Usually the way it will work is that you'll present what it's about, the general circumstances that led to the resolution being created, and then, why we should vote for it. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead, roll with this.
Yeah, so this stems from incident that happened last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So what ended up happening was, however, we're at David Howard Freedom Center, it's like the alt-right, far-right, like group that's like, that basically like publishes like newspapers and things like that, like kind of, about like different instances that happen on college campuses. They do a lot of other stuff aside from that, but like specifically on college campuses, they bring forward like misinformation about like student groups on different campuses. And so what happened last Tuesday was they dropped the newspapers where the Daily Bruin only has like distribution centers, and like they dropped these newspapers that basically, I think it was called like top 10 neo-Nazi incidents that occurred on campus. And one of the incidents that was listed on there was an instance that happened last school year. I believe that's May. Yeah. In which they equated SJP like attending an event with that was also by students supporting Israel and Armenian Student Association about it was called Indigenous Peoples Unite. And so basically they equated like SJP attending this event to like a neo-Nazi incident, like basically equating their destruction or their attendance of the event as it being a neo-Nazi incident. And so what was communicated to us by other like community members that like have seen the David Howard Freedom Center doing work, or the work that they do, is that what a lot of times when they post these things about like different incidents that happens later on, what they do is that they like specifically like call out individuals that like are involved in these processes. So what we were fearful is that they would start like naming actual individuals that like are part of SGP and kind of like blacklisting them. So that's kind of where this stems from. So this resolution essentially is calling on administration to support students that could be affected by this like misinformation that is being spread, and it's also calling on them to engage in like supporting students that have potential to be affected by this misinformation. The resolution does a better job explaining it, kind of like give a mini spiel on it. If y'all have any questions or anything.
Please take the time to read it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I know that's what you are doing right now. So yeah, don't feel rushed. Like, once again, we want to like hold ourselves accountable.
Are council members required to share resolutions prior to actually meeting?
Yes, so this is with the agenda. It's required to be sent out. The difficulty obviously this week was it was sent out to emails that either were not accessible to you all yet. So Thursday 5 p.m. was sent in. I mean, personally, last year seeing some of these incidents occur, especially with ammunition and everything, it's very like disturbing to me. And there have been council members that have been put on that website and everything. So I appreciate that portion of this.
So basically just asking admin to condemn it. Resolution is up to the council. Or like this one.
Yeah. And like one of those specific.
Do we need to go on this right now, or is there a possibility to like take time and actually read it and get thoroughly informed about what we're voting on?
Yes, so there is the option to table this as well until next week. If that's something you don't want to do.
What is a mock newspaper? Like, are they like imitating like the layout of a newspaper, or?
It's like, it's a newspaper, it's like, you see things, but it's also like has a lot of misinformation on it, and it's like, it's kind of propaganda.
So it's not objective publication.
Essentially, too, if you visit the website Canary Mission, it's almost like blog style to where yeah, a lot of people are on there, and it again reveals a lot of their personal information, and then various statements and things that or correlate with what has been said. So yeah, that's what it describes.
like the issue specifically with community mission is not just that like, well, in part is that individuals are targeted and like this is specifically brought to like our attention like for resolution because continuously like students have been singled out and then targeted like by community mission and there are like instances of people losing jobs like being or access to certain things because they're on community mission and then they're like arbitrarily put on this block like spreading misinformation and like associating like there are people who are associated on there because there's somebody's boyfriend who are protesting. Yeah, so like it's just really like it's kind of
I have a question, but also just to add on to that, I know a little bit about this already, and just being in the industry space, I think we should also know that there is a lot of fear of being on culinary mission because a lot of times, let's say as international students, if someone Googles my name, my employer, or someone who's given me a visa Googles my name, and that's the person that wants to know, it basically derives me of so many chances and opportunities. And I just wanted to be an suspension, but I also have a question. I am not able to read everything completely understand, so I'm gonna just ask you. This has happened multiple times, and I know this fear is in the community, and I've heard of this. So, are we just asking for council and admin to condemn it? Is that what the resolution is for?
that's the intention of the resolution. It's like for council to understand it too. But like to add to what you were saying about like someone Googling like your name, like that's a very real thing because the people who we were talking to, like as they were helping us write the resolution, we're talking about like other people have instances of not just like, oh, like coming into play when you're trying to get a job, but literally like people who are traveling back to like certain like Middle Eastern countries being barred like safe travel, like when they're trying to go home or like crossing certain borders of the area. So like it's pretty serious.
Yeah, and it's also like, I know this is a bigger issue, but it's also like, a lot of times what happens is if that name, I personally know people who found it difficult to travel just because similar names can appear in animation. So let's say if like, not, there could be someone else named Shaham. And so that has also affected, and this is very real and has affected so many people. And there's such a long process to go to prove that, oh, this is me and this is legit. And I think speaking up is very important.
Matthew, you want to say? So you can, okay, another thing, you can see your time if you think somebody might have information that a councilman might not, or want to provide context to something. So Matthew briefly, and then Jen.
So I'm like super privy on like what the newspapers were, like they were like mock newspapers, like defamatory towards like SJP and like Palestinian students. And basically they equated like anyone who stood pro-Palestine with Nazis, but also not just that, they said they repeated false information at that event that students went to protest that was pro-Israel was SJP when it wasn't SJP at UCLA. And I also want to reiterate some points about Canary Mission. I'm on Canary Mission, which isn't as big a deal for me as it is for other students, because I know there's like undocumented on there. The majority of students on there are students of color, and like the FBI has used it to go after students, and Israel has used it to go after students.
John.
Yeah, I have a question for the people who wrote and are sponsoring this. Like, you all understand the extent to like which you could be harmed and everything like that? Well, I think it's great to start off with this as the first resolution. I think looking long term in terms of your year as a Usac council and start with this. And if it didn't come out, then that's the first thing that you start off with and then start now you can start.
So the sponsors are removed from the resolution once they're posted, so.
But that didn't stop the previous people who got put on the mission from being put on the mission. So it didn't matter if they were removed, they got it because they wrote the resolution and endorsed it on behalf of their office.
I mean, as a senator, the Cultural Affairs Commission is no stranger to Canary Mission or like any of these types of issues, so I'm quite aware.
Yeah.
I think kind of just to echo that, I think that one of the main things that we were all asked during the endorsements and debates is, are you going to stand up at the table when people are being discriminated against unjustly? And I think that that's part of the oath that I took. I think that's part of the mission here at the table. I think that's the mission for the people in general. And yeah, that's all I want to say.
Do we have like further plans for this? Like, is this like a first step?
in addressing this issue? Are we going to have more resolutions in the future to deal with this?
I honestly can't say with any certainty if there would be, because I've been listening for calls on when people directly affected as of the incident, because I believe they were under the impression that like this Horowitz Freedom Center was no longer operating on campus, and so they want this resolution not just to condemn it, but also to alert people that like they are operating on campus again. So I think barring the occurrence of another incident, like there may not be another resolution, but like should something else happen, I guess. It would depend, because I feel like it has to do with what the constituents want. And that's like kind of the central point of the resolutions that people are really threatened.
I do want to say that, like she said, like also in our resolutions, and I thought of it, like I literally, like I go through things, everyone really shaking, and I know it's difficult, but again, like what Naomi said, like I think, being in this position is not supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be like it's not supposed to be easy, and this is difficult for me and for just thinking about this or reading this, but I do want to say that. I also have a question. I don't know if this is, so I'm not really sure about how the system so works. So being a public campus, does that mean that we cannot, that this needs to make sure that parents understand that there's nothing we can do to not allow them to actually practice music right now?
I think it's kind of hard from the resolution here, but like the stats that the administration has taken is that they allow all free speech. So it's like, I don't think we can necessarily prohibit that, but the issue that was raised, which I don't think is explicitly mentioned here, is that they put the newspapers or like the daily reporters distributing like their newspapers. So it's like they put it where a lot of students typically like see and like have access to it. So what's the job and then this
I just want to address like the first resolution thing. I don't think that's anything that I'm worried about at all. I think like we think a year is a long time, but a year is actually a really short time, and I'm ready to like kind of hit the ground running. I think it's actually like a strong stance for this council to take to the first thing that we do would be supporting students that are targeted, specifically students of color that are being targeted on our campus. So I fully have no problem with that being our first thing that we do at all.
I just have like another question about the resolution, like, so in sixth paragraph, you mentioned that, administrative figures, including the chancellor, block. In my memory, I don't know, like, I'm a first year, okay, because I haven't been here a while, and then I don't know when he has ever, like, equated, like, Palestinian supporters with Nazis. And then in the seventh note, like I've been looking through there, and like the only thing that I can find like that might relate to Gene Block is like sending the cease and desist about the ruin there. But I'm not sure if that's like a.
I can talk personally. I mean,
Okay.
being on council last year when that happened, I personally do not feel satisfied with the way the administration handled that.
Handled the cease and desist?
The cease and desist was definitely handled poorly, and to me seemed like an attempt to shut down student organizations' ability to exercise free speech on campus in a way that was hostile or not as friendly as it could have been. So that I am in support of that. And also, look, there is a citation attached to the Chancellor Law paragraph that I would encourage people to read and see if they're in agreement with that or not.
Yeah, no, that's the citation that I'm.
Everyone in the paragraph also says that anti-Semitism doesn't necessarily equate with like Nazi.
I think what also was referred to, because we spoke on the phone with like the person who's on the resolution, was like person targeted like all this stuff. He had referred to the incident in which students for justice in Palestine wanted to hold their national conference. And I think people were calling for it to be canceled. I'm not sure if you're aware. And then Gene Block said that he would let it go forward even though he felt that it was like hate speech. So that was like a large issue I was taking with it was Block, referring to SGP as like hate speech.
And that's kind of where like, it's like consistent with the whole like that because we allow this quote unquote JP like inside hate speech, it kind of allows like other far or that are actually far right organizations coming forward and like
So, yeah, it's a
bringing their
lot
hate speech.
issue with being like conflated with far right, like white supremacists, like neo-Nazi types of groups, like.
And that was like a public statement that we.
Yeah, put on the LA Times.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You wrote a comment.
Yeah, I think it would help to give council more time to review all the research they did in the past. I mean, the reason I ask you personally, because I don't want y'all to get hurt, but I also want council to know the full knowledge of what they're getting themselves into, because this has gotten not only past council members, but past just people, students on this campus in a lot of trouble, whether they want it or not. So I would prefer to table this, just so we can give council members a fair amount of time to digest everything.
How's everybody feel about that?
I feel like that's a good idea. I feel like everyone should have time to consider taking a stance on it. I know some people are comfortable doing so, some people may not be. But I think that's completely valid, keeping in mind like your capacity and your ability or like your willingness to risk, I don't know, being put on care mission. But I also do think it's important to keep in mind that we are not elected officials, and this is kind of what we signed up for, is to be taking stances like publicly on things. So I guess protecting like yourself and your interests as you need to, but keeping in mind that we're sitting at this table, public officers, so sometimes that might be that we did sign up to do it.
I kind of want to echo that and just say, like, we need to acknowledge our privilege in this room. And like, we are the top of the topic. We have a lot of control and a lot of power for the student body, and we need to remember that, like, we have privilege. Like, I'm not afraid of getting put on there because, to me, I have the privilege to speak against it. And I think we should all just like recognize where we are and who we represent.
So do we want to do just an informal, like raising of hands, not raising of hands, if we want to table this or not? Is that okay with everyone? So can I just say like an informal raising of hands if you want to table this to vote on until next week? Anybody? Please raise your hands high if you want to table it. 1, 2, 3. Does anybody feel strongly about voting on it tonight? Please raise your hand. Okay. So since it seems like there are multiple council members who desire to table this and do more research before they actually make a decision, I think that we should table it until next week. Is that okay with everybody? Awesome. Okay, then let's do that and just do your due diligence on research. One question I had, Dr. Geller, is does the resolution even now in its initial state need to have sponsors on it if we know that there are 3 council sponsors?
A resolution has to have 3 council sponsors on it on the day that you're going to vote on it.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions about this before we move on? So I'm going to table this and put it on the agenda for next week. So our last agenda item is just something that I had down if you all wanted to engage in discussion about this. It's just any ideas that you all had initially off the top of your head about collaborating this year on some all council initiatives. Obviously, some really big events that we're putting on as council all together, are going to happen throughout the year. We want to publicize those as much as possible. Last year, we did some really cool things. Fall quarter, when we reopened applications for our offices, the president made a all council application where it was like an event with all of the applications linked for all of our offices with descriptions of what our offices do. We can do that again, like if you all wanted. Are there any other ideas that you all haven't seen yet that you particularly want to do?
I was talking to Jessica Kim about this, and I don't know if it quite falls underneath this like umbrella, but Usac needs a publicity chair, like for all of our offices, like so that like we are not trying to publicize our offices by ourselves, like we are like publicizing Usac as a whole rather than like I'm publicizing TSR and like you're publicizing SAT and like because like, I talk about this a lot, but a lot of students don't know that, like, we all work, like, we all sit on a council together. Like, a lot of students will think that, like, we are totally separate organizations, and they don't know that, like, this council exists.
I'm gonna echo that sentiment.
No, go.
Oh, this is like kind of a question for admin. Back to the website, I think we're the only council or office that does it. And I want to get that domain name. I applied through IT, but is there a better way to?
Yeah, so we actually tried to get a couple domain names this past year, and we ran into some issues because the university did not want to give out the domain .ucla.edu. So we do have a solution for that. They can be housed under ASUCLA, so we can work with our own internal IT department to create those domains, but we can definitely help you with that. And that's something that, like, your internal office websites, if you will, is not something that we sort of take the initiative to do or facilitate. It's totally to your discretion if you want one, and if you have one, but maybe it's no longer in use or you don't have access to it, you want to create a new one. We're definitely open to helping you out with that, and we can definitely get the domain housed under ASUCLA, which would then also allow it to be secure and also subject to security scans through our IT department, which just helps prevent getting hacked. I know that happened with Hack's website a couple years ago, and just like the whole site got wiped clean. So definitely we can help out.
Alexi, you want to say something to John?
Oh, no, I was just going to like echo your sentiment because I think it's important to keep in mind that like some commissions have like whole marketing staffs, but like other offices don't have any like type of publicity. I'm just curious though, like how would we go about choosing installing a publicity chair? But I fully support it.
John.
I was just gonna ask, would you then have to use ASUCLA's IT department to make changes?
So no, what we do now, the current websites we house is basically the commission or the office will have some kind of WordPress site that you all internally manage through your own, if you want to have your own web person. You would internally manage that, and then you build the website, and we basically just link our domain to your site. So you have the freedom and the discretion to update content, or have control over that. We just have a way to link it to the domain that we house, which will then be under security settings.
So I'll share my thoughts on this real quick. Obviously in my office, given like my first platform, we're wanting to do the thing that you are kind of talking about, is I want to have a committee of individuals that have relationships with your all's office to publicize the history of our offices in an attempt to engage students more. You know, Usac has done incredible things from like establishing the union to, you know, establishing student legal services, to the Gnomes Activities Fair, to Bruin Bash, and those things should be publicized, especially in our centennial year. We have an option though, and I think this is a question you all were trying to get at, is instead of this just simply being like a 1 year like platform thing, how do we continue this effort in the long run? And an idea that I'm thinking of off the top of my head right now is the bylaws can very easily establish a unpaid appointment as a publicity chair, for example, that is composed of a committee of maybe representatives from each of our offices that solely work for publicizing USAC as a whole, and the work that we've all done, and kind of like working together to post that on the USAC page, and Instagram even, stuff like that, and engaging the students in USAC as a whole more. We could do that instead of, because I also want that to be permanent. I don't want this to just be like a committee in my office that dies after we're gone. Yeah, sorry, Jessica.
To your point with that, I would also suggest that you all talk to student government accounting, because you will all be approving your budget for the next fiscal year. And during that time, if there is money available somewhere that has flexibility in what it's dedicated to, you could essentially create a seconded position. So definitely talk to Mom and see what your mobility is for that, like what's your range of motion in terms of like where that money would come from and how much you could need. And then that's something you can ask them to build into the budget. for the 1920 academic year, and then that's something that will be brought forward to you all, probably in the summer sometime, maybe in June, we'll actually vote to approve, your budget for.
And even, we are already expecting that we will have a sizable surplus again this year. I will go ahead and say I'm hopefully in support of the surplus going back to student organizations first, but if there are instances where, like, for example, we could retroactively or stipend a position such as this, if we want to create as a council, or a committee that we want to create as a council that does this, I'm in full support of that as well, because I think that's important, right? And I think that's especially important given our struggles that we face as a council with engaging the student body in our upcoming 2 elections that we will be managing, and also all the events that we're going to be putting on this year. So definitely something to think about. Does anybody have any thoughts about all of this?
I mean, again, we've seen that historically this has been like one of the elections with the lowest voter turnout. I'm sorry, I'm so tired, so if my language is not here, it's because my brain is also fading, but, I think that it's just a testament to things that we need to prioritize as a council, and like just we have that ability, and I think that it would be something that, you know, our council could have the opportunity to do and kind of like leave that there for years to come, kind of institutionalize it.
What were you gonna say?
It's like separate from
Anybody about this? Would any office be opposed to creating something like that and having like a representative from their office who's well versed in the city or the office join such a committee? Is there the office like feel comfortable or even optimistic about doing something like that potentially? Everybody, yeah.
I just have a question, just like on this topic, in terms of the committee that you'd be like creating, would it be sort of people who are already interested in working for like office of the president, or are you right now envisioning something where, you pull from different, maybe even existing like publicity, cause like you was saying earlier, like some commissions and some offices do have like really established like marketing practices that still need a lot of improvement, but you know, I mean, I can speak presidency, we have a lot of work to do always, and you have a lot to improve at CDC. But in terms of that, like what are you, or is it just like something that we're all gonna feel out, I guess? I guess my question is how much of this is gonna be like OP led, and then how much of this like do you want it to be like very collaborative?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love for this, obviously, given like the platform that I get on everything, for this to be OP led and supported, but like, it obviously cannot happen without everybody, like, this is a collective action problem, right? It's like, I need everybody on the council's support with this, for this to be something that we all do, and I want to be careful with saying OP led, because I don't want this to be like, stamped with OP's logo, and be like, we did it, because this is an all council thing, like, that's literally the point, is I don't want this to be owned by an office. This needs to be purely a pure intention council initiative. That being said, like my office will prioritize this. I want to have a whole like graphics committee within my own office that will support all of our people getting together to work on such publicity. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. We can propose a bylaw change on this. I mean, now that we have CRC established as soon as we want, it's something we can all work on together too. That's a great question. Anybody else have any thoughts? Do we like this idea? Do we think this idea is effective?
How are we gonna find these people to appoint? Because we were talking about appointments earlier, and there's no point in appointing someone who's not interested.
Yeah.
Like, I have a very, very small office right now, and for the rest of the quarter, I'm gonna be working on rebuilding it. But like, I cannot say that I can appoint someone from that who wants to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as you grow your office, you'll probably end up having someone in the office that like leads all of your social media or like outreach and stuff like that. So like that could be a person that you like send to this committee. But like, I mean, other than that, like it needs to be something like someone who is like inside of your office because like they don't know the person who knows what's happening.
So Yeah, you could either have the option of, on your office application, have the option of having a whole separate position that would be allocated just to them working on, with this committee, or someone who's already within the office on your publicity team, ask if they would be convinced. Yeah, what you were saying?
I do have kind of a question, I don't know if it's just because I'm tired, but like, how do we see ourselves making sure that this kind of remains like equal? Because some like commissions are way bigger than others, so it's like, if CAC is like sharing a social media platform with you guys, like our page would be integrated with CAC because it's like, we have like 5 programs a week, where somebody else might have like a program every other week. So I guess it's like, even if no one has the answer to it now, I think that we should give thought to how we're like going to structure this to make sure that like it's not like we're not representing USAC, like it's dominated by certain like officers, because that's like unfairly to those commissions.
And I definitely think, I have your commitment as OP to be like, I do not want OP to advertise a lot of the work that's done with this. I want us to support the advertising of other work of other offices that have historically not been publicized well in USAC spaces. So I can give you that commitment on my end. Hopefully other offices can too. Yeah, Naomi as well.
2 things. So kind of bouncing off what Kalechi said, I also think it does students a disservice to see like 10 events posted on like one Instagram page within 1 week, because realistically you can't attend all 10 events. And then I had a second. I'll figure it out.
We're here, so.
I think in terms of like simplicity, I don't know if you follow like the Cecilia, like Instagram or Facebook, but they post like a weekly schedule every single week that says like, hey, on Monday we're having these events in these rooms, on Tuesday we're having these events in these rooms. So like, it could be something like that, so that it's not like a bunch of different posts, it's like one cohesive post like once a week that just like outlines everything that's going on from USAC in that week, or like signups for like things in the future. So like just something that's like very simple that like you don't have to like track down, or like, you know, it's blocking up your feed and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a better idea, it's like a USAC schedule events type of thing, and then like other posts are like more equitably distributed, like between like, oh, here's a picture from like such and such event, so it's kind of like you can showcase like all of the different offices kind of more equally.
And we do have a lot of like power too, of like, we could work with Soul even, and maybe Dr. Joe, you know a little bit about this, it's like with signboards and the restrictions with that currently that exist on Moon Walk and stuff, you know, we do have the ability to maybe secure something like that out there for at least a year-long basis where we can publicize our work. You know, like, we as a council have a lot of authority to work with the Hill, all of those entities to publicize outside of just like Facebook and Instagram to make this committee actually be effective at engaging the student body.
Sorry, I just have a lot of questions. And this is for the administrator. What are the rules regarding like flyering on Burn Walk? Like, do we have to sign up for a spot?
So,
Thank you so much. You know, it's typically.
This is our last item.
so the policies on flyering, I believe, are all on the Soul website.
Okay. Then I just looked them up later, so you don't have to worry about
They've got a policy page on their website, and let's see. Yeah, the flyering, no, that's posting, not distributing.
I'm pretty sure flyering is okay.
Yeah.
You just don't wanna, take a flyer and then post it somewhere that has not been. So like, if you're posting something in increment, you bring it to the A-level info window, we'll put it in the display case for you. If you're posting other areas on campus, usually you take it to Soul, they will like stamp it that's been like approved for posting, and they will go put it in that location for you.
So the policy on posting flyers is on the Soul website. But the other policy that addresses what you're talking about is the campus regulations. It's the UCLA regulations on activities, registered campus organizations, and use of properties. It has a section that is called Distribution of Literature. And it addresses the process for doing that. It says that on university grounds generally open to the public, which are defined but are essentially the outdoor spaces on campus. University units, including the authorized student governments, and you are the authorized undergraduate student government, may distribute literature provided that you don't obstruct the flow of traffic, so you can't block the sidewalk entirely, that you don't force the materials on people who don't want to take them, that you don't put anything on or in parked cars, that you make sure that things you're handing out don't become litter, and you pick up any that are littered. So if you give it to people who throw them on the ground, you're responsible for picking up the litter. It talks a little bit about whether you're setting up a table or any kind of structure for use. And you can't, you want to be careful about collecting any kind of money. So you're not asking for donations, you're actually selling the literature. But yes, you can do flyering in the outdoor areas of campus. There are restrictions in the rules for residents that have to do with the area on the hill. So it is more restricted on the hill. And you can't do anything inside classrooms without permission of the instructor.
I definitely want to, this year as a council, tackle our relationship with the Hill in a way that's productive, because I think I'm going to be careful in my wording, but I think that there could be a lot more engagement on the Hill's end with Usac, and especially with elections and their commitment to broadcasting to the students. So I would love your all's work with that this upcoming year to help with that, because I think sending out one reminder a year saying that there shouldn't be any campaigns happening on the Hill is not effective at us actually having a student government that represents what students want. So that's something I would work with you this year. But yeah, I mean, is this something you want to like think about more with ideas, and then maybe in the next week or two come up with a bylaw change that represents like a point from each of our offices or something like that? It is very like.
I would also like to give power to whoever the committee is before we hire, because I assume we're gonna wanna hire people that have really creative ideas.
Yeah.
And we're not the only people here that should get to decide how we engage students. I feel like we have great ideas, and we can also defer a lot of power to that committee.
Support them in whatever way we can do. Okay. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we do our first adjournment as a council? Anybody, last minute things? Okay, so with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 12:05 a.m. Please stay. I'm going to talk about what good welfare is. So, yes, sorry, 1 second.